going on, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture talk show in all of IG. We are talking about the Scrappy Hour. I'm your host, Serg Vicente, and thank you guys so much for joining us on the show. We're going to have a great time. I know it's been a while since we've done one of these, but what we're going to go ahead and do today, we're going to go ahead and do all things pro wrestling, and we're going to go ahead and bring on none other than one of the Fight Podcast's own contributors, our pro wrestling savant. We are talking none other than Miss Dre Day. Miss welcome to the Scrappy Hour. As soon as she pops up, I swear she's here. Boom, there it is. What is going on? Welcome to the show. And also, we have to let people know you are you and our brother B Cam. You are officially the first contributors to the Fight Podcast and the Fight Pod channel. Welcome to the Fight Pod family.
It's so dope. It's official. We official now. We in here.
Absolutely. I love it. No, I appreciate you. Like I said, I couldn't be more happy to have you as a part of the Fight Podcast fam. And we had to let people know why you're here. Again, you are part of the Fight Podcast. You are one of the Fight Podcast contributors specifically to the wonderful, wonderful world of sports entertainment. We are talking about pro wrestling. And now, like I said, Ms. Dre Day is a part of the team. Dre, please let the people know who you are.
Yo, hi, I am Dre. I am Dre, and I'm representing the wrestling wing of the Fight Podcast, and I'm really excited. It's really exciting to talk about something that, number one, I have a ball watching. I've been watching, we've been fans. We talk about this all the time. We've been fans for years. And it's just a really dope and exciting time in pro wrestling right now. There's like more options than ever.
Than ever before.
And
feels like we're kids again.
We're gonna be right
like
there.
WEC cracking.
Yo, yes, and like I feel like it's a little better. Like the quality, I feel like.
Let them know.
The quality of wrestling all across the board is just so much more fun, so much more diverse,
Absolutely.
Just so much going on.
Absolutely, well, I love it, and we have so much to get to. But before we get to that, we got to let people know again. The Fight Podcast, we're back in a real way. We have a lot of interviews. You guys haven't checked them out already. Invicta strawweight champion Emily Ducote. We had a great interview with her that is on YouTube right now. Go, please check that out. Also, make sure tomorrow we have the number 4 ranked UFC heavyweight Curtis Razor Blades, Chicago's very own Chi-Town stand up. He is also joining us on the show. That will be on YouTube first thing in the morning. So make sure you go check that out. And last little bit of housekeeping notes is coming this week. Merch. Finally, the Fight Podcast has merch. We have a couple different things. And yes, I'm wearing WWE merch today. And I'm proud to say this is my first ever pro wrestling tee. And I had to rep with the bloodline. You know what I'm saying?
It was such a hard decision for you, wasn't it? Such a difficult.
I mean, it was between that or just Roman by himself. It was one of the two.
Serg is a Roman Reigns bloodline stan, okay? That is his people. If they ain't on the show, he's asking me what happened.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? What happened? But also we have to let people know, not only am I wearing that, the Fight Podcast also now has merch. So please, like I said, it will be up on the link. It'll be at our bio after today. Tomorrow we'll probably start off on there. And then you'll see some stuff. But check it out. We have, Fight Podcast mugs for you guys to check out. We also have, let me just show you guys. We have Everything is Champion brand. We got our crew necks, hoodie or sweatshirts. We have different type of tees and everything for you guys. Everything is Champion brand. Everything is super minimal. And it was all designed by the First Lady of the Fight Podcast.
First Lady.
And if you guys know, she's pretty fly. So I'm very happy and honored to have those. So check that out. That'll be on our page this week. But I remiss. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Ms. Dre Day. We have a lot of wrestling, the pro wrestling, and I mean, pro wrestling has been not only fantastic this year to start off. Obviously, we're talking about AEW and everything that's been going on with them and the competition that we really haven't felt since, the Attitude Era, or what really spawned the Attitude Era in the WWE. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's hit some news and notes before we get into this weekend's Royal Rumble. Number 1 on the rumor mill. It was announced yesterday, but Ronda Rousey is rumored to make her WWE return this weekend.
Allegedly.
Right there on in the Royal Rumble. Dre, What are your thoughts to this? Do you think this is something that's really going to happen?
I really think it's gonna happen. I mean, here's the thing. I am not your biggest Ronda Rousey and wrestling fan.
Look, I am not
But
your biggest Ronda Rousey fan in general. So and being the
I was like,
MMA
and you would
person,
know,
you
right? You
know,
would know a little bit more about the MMA stuff than me, but like, I wasn't with that. My opinion aside, she had one of the most kind of like trailblazing first years in the business ever. Rivaling people, a lot of people like to say rivaling like Kurt Angle's first year in WWE. And so like,
and there's so many similarities when you think about it. They're both
right.
Olympians. They both came from other sports. They both have legitimate athletic capabilities and backgrounds.
And
so
they
I
picked
see
up
the
the stuff
correlation.
in between the ropes like really, really well. And I mean, she got pushed to the freaking like ceiling. So that also helps. That also helps when you're booked to win and you're booked strong and all of that stuff too.
She's a star.
Yeah, and they loved her. WWE's like love her, So I feel like it's Royal Rumble season, and Royal Rumble season is my favorite season. It's it's like the first big thing, before Mania.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish the story didn't come out so that if she does show up at the Rumble it would have been like a real life surprise.
Right.
But like, I could also see them because Vince is petty like that. I could see them because the story came out not doing it and then saving it for like Raw on Monday or something like that. Either way it goes, homegirl's coming back.
Right.
And if it ain't on Saturday, it'll be like on Monday.
Right. And just to let everybody know, because obviously we want to give credit here on the show, Fightful Online were the ones that ended up making that one. They're a great follow not only on IG but on Twitter.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that out. That's where I get the bulk of my a lot of my breaking wrestling news. Yeah, so go ahead and check those guys out. Fantastic. But I'm going to be honest with you. I found this to be interesting because from my understanding, and look, I'll be very honest to the people, I have not been the most consistent wrestling fan. I was a wrestling fan during the Attitude Era, and I was gone for a while. I disappeared.
Yeah.
But
we all disappeared.
Just like the chosen one, the prodigal son has returned, and I am back to watching pro wrestling, especially what's currently going on now. So let that in itself, Ronda Rousey coming back, because I know how big of a star she really is, and she's an enormous star. She is somebody that really helped usher in a new era of MMA. And me as an MMA fan, somebody who is really a part of the culture of MMA, I do appreciate that, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Ronda Rousey. As honestly, I didn't think she was that good when she competed. I spoke a lot about that during that aspect of time, but she was important. She's one of the most important figures in MMA history. This very similar way that Conor McGregor, even though I've never thought of him as being, everyone loves to ride Conor. I never have, because I saw the deficiencies in his game. But one thing I'll say is that if anybody says that he or Ronda Rousey are not important in the growth of MMA, they'll be wrong. They'll be absolutely mistaken, because the two of them are so important, especially to getting them to where they currently are today. So to bring them back to WWE makes total sense.
Right, and I think that's her legacy in wrestling also, like in WWE also, is that she was able to bring mainstream eyes back to the product. Again, like you said, a lot of us, the wrestling audience in general has shrunk from the Attitude Era to now. Just in terms of television and mainstream, popularity.
Right.
So anything that a wrestling company can do to bring a mainstream name that's outside of wrestling, to the product, is going to be a positive thing, because then, regardless of how you feel about that particular person, it's still good for business, on the back end. And if it'll be entertaining no matter what happens, right? Like, regardless,
of course,
she was always entertaining.
Yeah.
When she was on the screen and during her first run, it was always like, I gotta watch this because I don't know what's really gonna happen, whether I like it or not. You never know what's gonna happen. And so,
well, let me ask you this. In terms of, because when Ronda went over there, I'm admittedly, so I wasn't watching.
Right.
Is Ronda Rousey, is this something that is worth time for her coming back? And let me ask you this: if they do bring her back, what are they going to do? What do you think they're going to do?
I mean, is it worth it? Sure. I get like again. I mean, I'm a little biased just because I feel like there's so many.
My brother H. Dot, what it do?
I feel like there's so many women on that roster that could use TV time, right? So they could use TV time to get stronger and build feuds. There's top tier women on that roster, Bianca Belair, for example, who they pushed
I'm here for that feud.
And pushed to the moon and then like chilled on. And so just like
ripped snatched the cover, what is it? Snatched it away.
And like you can tell that they're trying to like remind you, especially now coming into the Royal Rumble, they're trying to remind us like, no, remember we she's still in the top, whatever after questionable booking decisions, etc.
You know what? I know exactly what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen. I tell you right now. I know my Vince McMahon brain is tingling right now, and if they bring her back,
and the pencil was in your hand, Sergio,
because here's the thing, and we'll talk about Royal Rumble in a second. But she's gonna go ahead and disrupt that women's championship match. I'm telling you that right now.
She's not gonna come back and not be in the main.
Exactly. She's gonna go out there and she might do something to get Doudrop up out of there to make sure her and Becky have something else going again. They had something.
Her, Becky and Charlotte have unfinished business. Like
exactly.
Period. They had a triple threat at Mania. That was her last. I believe it was her last match in WWE before she left, had her baby, etc. But it was a triple threat at WrestleMania. Come on, get that mud, hello. A triple threat at WrestleMania, and Becky won that. So that was kind of like Becky's coronation, right? So in my personal opinion, watching everything that was happening, I don't think that was the original plan. I think the original plan was for Ronda to win because they wanted to keep Ronda top, but the fans started turning on her and they had to turn her heel, which I don't think was the original plan. So she's going to pop. You're absolutely right. Charlotte is the SmackDown Women's Champion. Becky's the Raw Women's Champion. Ronda's going to pop right on in between that. And it's going to be shenanigans until Mania.
And later on in the show, I'll explain why I think that's going to be the matchup. But let's move on because we have a couple more things to get to before we transition to Royal Rumble. So also, speaking to people from Chicago, speaking to people from the area, the Chicagoland area, let's talk about Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali is somebody whom at Money in the Bank had a huge match, was really put out in front for the world to see, especially when they're going to Saudi Arabia and that part of the world, being a Muslim man that he is. But he went out there and said, look, man, he was like, not all the money in the world doesn't matter. I'll watch this shit burn. It's not always about the money. He wants to be released from the WWE. The WWE in turn turned around and said, fuck you, we're not doing that. We're not letting you go at all because we like what we got. So let me ask you this. What let's read between the lines. What am I missing here?
I mean, it's kind of sad. Like personally,
my peeps at MMA Island, what it do?
When it comes to wrestling stuff and news popping up on your timelines, you always have to remember that there's a possibility we're being worked. So I always
are we being worked? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I don't have a really strong feeling either way. I just know that I will always go,
See, this is the topic. This is the topic that I was really curious about. And for you to say that makes a lot. And for those who are just joining us on the show, thank you so much for joining us on Scrappy Hour.
Yes, what's up, family?
We are being joined by the Fight Podcast Pro Wrestling contributor, Ms. Drede. So thank you, Ms. Drede, for joining us on the show. Continue. Yes.
What is a work? Real quick for
let them know.
A work just means it's a storyline. It's not, there's this. It's something that's not actually happening. Or like when we're watching wrestling and we're cheering for the good guys and booing the bad guys, we're allowing ourselves to be worked. Like it's just making sure that you're in the story. And so. Of course, the new age of this, there's a social media component, and of course, internet
like Dana White versus Jake Paul. We're being worked, people. We're being worked. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
And like wrestling fans on the internet are insane, and so they want to know everything. Yes. And so there have been. I mean, this has gone back and forth then too. Like, I mean, Brian Pillman like worked everybody, including his bosses, to get a new contract with WWE way back in the day. That's a real fun story. Y'all should look it up. But so like it's very it's just a part of wrestling in general. And so like I just always think that there is just always a possibility we're being worked. With that being said,
okay.
I don't let's just say this is true, and Ali has asked for his release. It's not the first time WWE wrestlers asked for their release, even recently.
Which is crazy, especially with the number of these athletes that have been. And really quick, and let's wrap this up really quick with Mustafa, because there's one other, honestly, person that's asking to kind of get let go, which is another big name and one of the other big organizations. So really quick, let's finish this one.
Yeah, just saying, like, I think that it's interesting. If it's true that he asked for his release, the WWE said no.
Right.
It's strange because he has not been a part of anything significant in quite some time. And if you know anything about the creative process in that situation, it's like these talents come to work and they may not work. Like that's the whole thing. They come to work
and they're all in the background. Like the whole roster is backstage.
A good point of them. Yes. Like if it's not everybody, it's a lot of them, right? You know, it's they always have bodies there and they're not going to use them all. And so if you continuously do this for months and months and months and months and months, you know, and you want to wrestle,
becomes frustrating.
This is these people's art, right? Like they want to wrestle, and because, like you mentioned in the beginning, there's so many options now. There's at least 2 other mainstream wrestling companies other than WWE right now.
We're talking about
all that,
right?
AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact. Like you've got options. These people want options, and like you said, it's not always about the money. So I just think it's interesting, especially since WWE's released so many people in the last 2 years. It's like, what's one more that you're not actually using?
Right. Do you think that, well, that's good to know. That we can table that for a later date, because I think this is a story that's going to be ongoing. And it's extremely interesting because he is one of the only people that actually, he shows his training footage on his Instagram. So you see how hard he works. You see how, how talented he really is. So it's really interesting to not actually see him getting the shine that he really deserves. And honestly, his little feud that he had with Mansoor was interesting, because that was the first time that I really realized how great Mustafa was, not only as a heel, but how great he is on the mic and everything. So it's unfortunate that we're not seeing him, but let's move on, because this is something else that could be unfortunate if it doesn't come to fruition. But Leo over here, your boy, why am I blanking on his name?
Leo Rush. Leo
Rush. And I ain't gonna stunt. I don't watch AEW. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you this one, but I do follow us. And that being said, my boy Leo Rush, what is going on with Leo Rush? And is he trying to get out of AEW?
You know, again,
Maya, hello, how are you today?
Yes, hey friend, Maya, Tay. What's up, y'all? Ash, I see y'all over there. So Leo Rush is such an interesting character. He was signed to WWE for quite a while. He was He was a manager for Bobby Lashley for a little while.
Are you serious?
Yes, he was. When Bobby Lashley first came back, Leo Rush was his. You should go back to that. Serge wasn't watching then.
I'll tell you right now, y'all barely got me watching pro wrestling now. Lucky for the bloodline. Jeez.
But and he, again, another super talented dude. He's a high flyer, crazy speed, just great talker. He makes music too. Like, man's got 600 hustles.
I love it.
And he left WWE. I think he got released. Actually, it was a little bit of a tricky, controversial situation as well for that. That situation. Went to AEW. Didn't do much. Like, did a little bit. Started a bit of a storyline with Dante Martin and Team Taz, but it hasn't quite.
Which I will admit, that is one of the only groups in AEW that I actually follow. And Team Taz, they're fun. They're fun. They're legitimately fun. So, okay, let me ask you this. Yeah. Is there a possibility that we'll end up seeing Leo Rush end up back in the WWE, or are we going to see him doing some of the very same thing that we'll see a lot of these guys take in the independent route, seeing them on
My
Impact,
man is going back to the Indies. Yeah, he's going to be in the Indies. He was in the Indies before WWE. He's going to be in the Indies until he don't want to, until he doesn't want to wrestle no more. If he wants to go to Japan, I think he's already been to Japan a few times. Like, my man's has got options. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it is just
Well,
weird because he just signed with them not that many months
right.
ago, with AEW not that many months ago. So it's just kind of like it's just strange for it to happen in this time in the middle of the storyline, etc. Which is why.
Well, this is interesting because a lot of people I saw, we only have about 2 minutes to talk about this before we transition to Royal Rumble. We were talking about because a lot of people, when he got released, people start talking about this mythical thing called the Forbidden Door that's in pro wrestling. So is there a possibility that this Forbidden Door is a real thing? And could you explain to the people and myself, what the fuck is the Forbidden Door? And why have wrestling fans been so excited on talking about it? I look at this shit every day online, and I have no clue what it is. Could you please explain to the people what it is?
Yeah, the Forbidden Door is just a way of saying that wrestlers from multiple companies are wrestling in different companies that they're signed. So, for example, your boy Roman Reigns. This will never happen, by the way.
No.
I'm giving it as a crazy example.
Hypothetical.
Like
crazy hypothetical.
If your boy Roman Reigns showed up at AEW on Wednesday and challenged their champion, Hangman Page,
he would absolutely win.
Like, that would be, yes. But also,
not even a question. Have you seen what that guy looks like?
Could you relax on this? He is so, Serg is so mean. Serg is so petty. If they don't have 7,000 muscles and ain't 6'5", he ain't paying attention to them.
They're supposed to be pro wrestlers. They're supposed to look like superheroes. I do not want a guy who's a pro wrestler that I can beat up. Don't want it. Nope, not here for it. But I'm sorry, continue.
But that's the point. So if a wrestler from one company goes into another company and just makes an appearance, they don't even have to have to wrestle. If they make an appearance, they consider it like the Forbidden Door. The most recent, the reason that came about is because Mickie James, who is actually the Impact Knockouts champion, has just been announced to be in the WWE's Royal Rumble. Mickie James was signed to WWE years ago, left, and then came back, and then was released. So this has all happened in like the last 2 years, and so now she's in Impact, she's their champion, but then she signed some crazy deal where she's allowed to go to WWE and be in the Rumble, and not just that, but she was actually announced as Impact Knockouts World Champion on WWE television,
which is crazy.
They would never do. Like, it's more common for like AEW to have a New Japan wrestler come in, or Ring of Honor or Impact. They actually AEW and Impact actually have a working relationship, so you might see those wrestlers sometimes show up on each other's programs. But WWE was notoriously like never going to do that, and then they have. So of course the timeline went crazy, and all wrestling nerds like myself was like, that got interesting. And then of course one confirmation means people are trying to fantasy book who else could possibly show up at the Rumble that's not signed to WWE right now.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. Speaking of Royal Rumble, and thank you so much for letting us know what that is. And for those who do not know, who are just joining us today, thank you so much for joining us today on the Scrappy Hour. I am joined by the Fight Podcast pro wrestling contributor, Ms. Dre Day. So Dre, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show. Let's talk about Royal Rumble, because that's what we're here this weekend. Royal Rumble. It is actually going to be, where is it going to be? It's Saturday, the 29th. You can actually see them 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right on Peacock Network. Let me see where is this at? Do you know where this is at? Are they in Florida or some shit? No, in St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah, that's St. Louis.
Okay. So they'll be in St. Louis, but let's talk about the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble, obviously, we have the WWE Championship of Brock and Bobby Lashley. We have the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Seth freaking Rollins. We have Edge and Beth versus Miz and somebody, his wife. And then
Maurice is that woman's name.
And then we have both of the Royal Rumble matches. Let me ask you this before we get into it. Like I said, we have a few minutes to talk about this. Which of the you know what? Let's just do this. Let's start at the top. Let's work our way down. Okay? I think that's going to be the best way to go ahead and do that. Main event time, Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. This is a match that I think a lot of people are waiting for years. Years
like
on years
20.
on years.
Literally like 20 years.
Literally 20 years. Bobby's been wrestling forever. Brock obviously is Brock Lesnar. So it's very interesting to actually go ahead and see them doing their thing. So now that we have this, the match is finally set. You have two men that have both been MMA champions. You have both men that have both held the WWE belt. You have literally the yin-yang version of each other, okay? The chocolate and the vanilla version of the same dude. What do we expect of this match?
This is gonna be this is a match made
My
for
brother
you.
Bryson, what it do?
This is a tailor-made match made for you. You like your big old, just muscly, no-neck men just whooping each other's ass, you're going to get that.
But you know what's funny?
They're athletic as hell. They're going to jump around. They're going to beat each other up.
Yes.
That's my hope, at least. I'm always worried when Brock Lesnar is involved in his WWE.
Yeah, especially against black people.
When it's Brock Lesnar
I'll
involved,
never forgive them for Kofi.
Me neither. It makes me sad. But there's always a possibility when Brock Lesnar is involved that there's going to be a squash match. They'll build it up to be so crazy, and then Brock just beats him in 8 seconds or something stupid. You know, so that's always there. But if they I think they will. I think Bobby's built up enough goodwill and loyalty with that company for however, for this many years.
And
that they'll let them actually have a nice little.
Yeah, and I'll say that before the last event, Bobby was kind of cooking. It seemed like they were building Bobby back up to possibly even be champion again. So
his last year trajectory has been like champion around the championship.
Yes.
And now this match with Brock Lesnar. Like he hasn't left the top of the card in quite some time. So you know, like that's why it's like I'm a little more confident than usual that they're gonna let them cook for a little while and have a really nice match. They're not letting Brock drop the title before Mania.
That was my next question. Okay.
That's not happening.
You took that one out, so that's good. Who said? He said, I gotta get back to work. Just want to check in. Good stuff. I appreciate you, my brother Bryson. Everybody watching during that lunch break and everything. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And you'll be able to find this episode actually on our YouTube page. So we'll be putting this episode on our YouTube page. You'll find it there probably by Friday. So just keep that in mind. But, okay, so we have that event. We already have, obviously, Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. You don't think Brock's going to give his belt up? I would have to agree with you. But I think even though I think it would be great, I think they're probably hoping to get Brock. They really want that Brock versus Roman, probably WrestleMania for like the fourth
possible
time.
Title unification match.
Exactly.
That's just my hope. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Look, if they do that, do you think that's actually? And I'm glad you said that because the next matchup, obviously, we have the Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief, the head
boy.
of the table, boy, Roman Reigns is going out there, and having the fact that we have Roman Reigns going out there fighting Seth freaking Rollins, who in real life is his buddy. And, you can tell. And it's amazing seeing the two of these. And there's always me being a casual pro wrestling fan, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'll get close to the camera when I say this. Me being a casual pro wrestling fan, I appreciate when I get to almost have a little bit of peek into the fourth wall and I can actually kind of see and Dre, you and I were talking about this before we went on. When I'm watching matches and I can actually see, I've been watching a lot, you can see them communicating. You can see them working together, and you could also see when two friends are really having fun. You see this with the Usos and the New Day. You can tell they're tight. Yeah. You could also see this with Seth freaking Rollins and the Tribal Chief and Roman Reigns, who they were obviously a part of the Shield together. They had their whole drama and everything that went on with that. But it's amazing to me, and I'm just building this for people who don't know. I loved how Roman Reigns, ever since he's come back over the last years and change, 500 plus days or whatever it is at this point in time now.
Longest
reigning Universal Champion ever.
Yeah.
The fact that they've had him, everybody else was so secondary, and he never showed respect to anyone. The only person he's ever showed respect to as this Tribal Chief character is Seth freaking Rollins. Yeah. Seth came into the locker room a couple times and they had exchanges where the audience was like, "Oh, that was interesting." He didn't treat him like just somebody to throw away or whatever. He gave him that respect. So it's interesting seeing this event, and it's also interesting that they have faced each other in championship matches in the past multiple times, and Roman Reigns has never beaten Seth freaking Rollins. Is this going to change?
Listen, wrestling storytelling is so simple, right? It's like it's mad simple, and we've been telling the same type of stories since
Facts.
before you and I were born, right? Wrestling has been telling
Same
a
shit.
simulation of
Yep.
the same story forever. And when you
Mhm.
give them a reason, right? Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were in the Shield together. They debuted
Yes.
together. They were,
Yes.
in NXT to get all of this. There's a lot of backstory, right?
Yes.
And like you said, in singles competition, right? Where it counts, Roman and Seth have met a few times, and Seth has always beat him. So obviously, Roman's winning on Saturday because that's the story. The cool and more interesting part for folks like us, I think, is how is it going to happen?
Yes.
The face heel dynamic, the good guy bad guy dynamic,
and that's
right?
why I know that Seth can't win. Because it was interesting because I was looking at the rumor mill and there's rumors going on that Seth is going to be dethrone Roman Reigns and end the streak. I saw a bunch of rumors on that. I don't see that happening either because two main things, and it's something that I heard you say in the past and I've heard other people say before. It's two heels.
Technically.
But a heel isn't going to overtake another heel.
No.
You're going to get it, especially in that long reigning. Now, for instance, it would have made complete sense, for instance, if Big E, if they had Big E beat Roman. So, for instance, if Big E lost his thing, they had him come over, you have Big E go over the top. That would make complete sense. Right. But they fucked that up in the past, too, because they had, Drew McIntyre. Drew lost to, he lost to Roman. Never mind. The Tribal Chief.
You tried it, and then you were like, nah, never mind.
Never mind.
Because that actually was the right call. Having Drew
my brother Al
was the right call, for sure.
So we have that. So we don't think that's going to come to fruition. Before we transition to the next thing, let me ask you this. So you think that they're setting up that it's going to be Roman wins, and then we're going to go ahead and go into WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. That's your prediction.
It's the most logical thing, and my prediction is that because that's what they've been telling us, right? Okay. Like we started this at day one or before day one, right? And so, like, that's the logical progression. If they're both champions, which they both like in real life, logically they should. That just makes it more the stakes just even more better.
Yes. Yeah.
Loser, winner takes all. Let's go.
Yes.
Like, let's do it. That's 2 titles. That makes Mania's main event that much more.
And realistically, if they did that, and I'm just thinking, obviously, I'm a Roman fan, I'm a Bloodline fan, but if you really want to make the case that he is the big bad and everything, what you do, you make him the big bad. You have him win both belts, then you really have this like evil bad guy who's reigning over the thing, and it makes so much more sense, and it just builds so many amazing storylines in the future. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The simple fact, just to add to that, and that's it. The simple fact that they even have Brock Lesnar as a face right now. That's the other reason why this just
he's great as a face, by the way. It's hilarious.
Great.
He's hilarious.
Great.
It's awesome.
And the fact that they've even built Brock as a face, which they haven't done very much, not in his like new reign. I'll call it the new reign, the last couple of years or whatever. So that the fact that he's even a face right now, and we know Roman's the heel, it just makes more sense.
Love you
that's
too,
what they're
whoever
building.
Ray is.
That's my cousin. Hey, cuz.
All right, cuz.
So yeah, that's all. I mean, I think that's
love
for sure going to happen. And I mean, my hope is the title unification match. Okay. Now, granted, it's WWE. Shenanigans are always possible to be afoot, and we could all be wrong. And
so we only got about 5 minutes to get through the rest of these other topics, and I want to rifle through these really quick with you, okay? Yeah. Let's talk about this really fast. We have the women's match belt. Also, we have Doudrop versus Becky Lynch. I'm going to say this, just in my own 2 cents worth on this one. I don't like Doudrop, okay? I don't think Doudrop, and the reason I don't like Doudrop is because at the end of the day, I think she's too green, and I don't think she's a good wrestler. I'm sorry, I don't. You see her out there, I think that she's slow, she's unathletic, and she's not a joy to watch. The only thing that's joyful to watch about her is she's like this obese person who's just running around in there trying to squash people. I don't find that entertaining. I don't personally. And then it doesn't make sense to have her go in there against Becky Lynch because, again, we're talking about realistic, right? Becky Lynch weighs every bit of 115 pounds. And you're going to have her go in here against, against old girl who weighs every bit of 210. Like, dog, I don't like it. I think it's a miss. But I preface all that, and I teased this earlier in the show, and the reason I think this is going to happen is because I think this is the match, and I think this is the window in which they bring in Ronda Rousey, and I think they're going to have something to do with that match. That is I'm putting my, Vince McMahon hat on. That is what I believe is going to happen, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that would make sense. Really. She goes in there, she messes up the championship, she wrecks both of them, and she's standing there in the middle of the damn thing, and then we have a beef between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. It sells itself.
I wouldn't hate that. And like, I don't feel as strongly about Doudrop as you do. I absolutely hate her name. Piper Niven was a fine name for her. That was the name she used before she was with WWE. When she was with WWE NXT, she was Piper Niven. I mean, or NXT UK, excuse me. Piper Niven. Her matches were also better. So I have a little bit more context than Serge does in terms of how good of a wrestler that she is. I think she's fine, for the type of wrestler she is. She's fine. But to your point, the way she has been booked has not been exciting. So I'm not excited to see her personally. Like, this feels very filler in terms of something for Becky to do at Royal Rumble. I feel like we had better options, but okay.
Right.
If that match ends with Ronda Rousey, wrecking some shop,
it would make sense.
That actually would make me sit up and go, okay, all right, let's see where this goes. I'll be cool with
Facts. All right, well, I'm cool with that if that ends up happening, but I'm not a fan of this matchup. I think that it didn't make sense, especially, again, when we look at everything. Bianca Belair has already wrecked Doudrop, right? And it seems
didn't make any sense.
It didn't make sense, and that's why I don't like it. I think if they built it up more, you know me, you give me a good storyline, I'll go.
And I think that's honestly, I think everything, your criticism is fair because of the way she's been presented to you. You have you have zero context that I have.
Zero context.
You don't know about NXT UK. 5.5.
First time I saw Doudrop is she came in as a goon for Eva Marie. Which was stupid also, which didn't make, there were way better ways to debut her. I got a prime example.
That didn't help.
If Omos doesn't have a title shot, Doudrop shouldn't have a title shot.
I had nothing. That's very logical thinking.
I'm sorry.
Been presented on television. You're right.
And Omos is, honestly, he's a much more finished product, in my opinion, than Doudrop is.
He's way greener than Doudrop.
But here's the thing. This is my thing.
I like him. Please don't get it twisted.
Here's the thing. The type of dude that he is, being a giant, being a 7+ footer, you don't have to be this, great wrestler like that.
To be fair though, neither does Doudrop, right? Because
he's at least an athlete.
Stay with me. So is she. You being harsh.
From what I've seen, I haven't seen it. And again, and obviously I will always defer to you with this stuff, because obviously, especially with the people that I don't know, I'm gonna give you obviously the benefit of the doubt, which I am. So if you say I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
But I will say that the way matches are produced and set up and all of that, that plays a part in how a casual fan, for example.
And we have to move on from this one really quick too. We have to move on from this one just time. And thank you guys, everybody who's watching live today. We appreciate you. Sanya, I see you there. How are you? That's the first lady of the Fight Pod, Tasha's mom. So how are you?
Yay, mama.
So also let's go ahead and just talk about it really fast. We have the 30-man and 30-woman Royal Rumble. This is one of the cornerstone events of the WWE, and I think this is a lot of people's favorite. I'm
gonna keep it simple for you, Serge.
Please.
Big E better win the Rumble. That's all I got. The men's Rumble. That's period. And then
And the women's, what do you think? So you're already saying.
And Bianca Belair better win the women's, and that's period. I got nothing
Bianca
else.
Belair, this would be her second year in a row winning, which she does.
Which is the first time that's ever happened.
And it makes sense because for two reasons it makes sense. Now you put her right back in there again to finally get her belt back against Becky Lynch. But like I said, it's a great way to get a little triangle going with Ronda Rousey.
And they love a nice little triple threat with Ronda's in. Yeah. They love a triple threat with that. They might as well do that.
Or they're going to have Ronda Rousey come out of nowhere, last person in, throw Bianca out of the thing, and she's going to go ahead and win the Rumble. That's probably what's going to happen. Just let you know.
That's more than likely, there's a high chance that's going to happen.
Yeah. And the more I think about it, I think that is going to happen. Unless, unfortunately, Sasha, we know, is injured. Otherwise, I would say it would be her that something good would happen.
I would not be surprised if Sasha popped up in the Rumble, though. Also, in terms of surprises, because that's Royal Rumble's my favorite pay-per-view of the year because of this. Yeah. So I think that in terms of surprises, I would not be surprised if Bayley and Sasha both come back at the Rumble, because Bayley's been injured for months.
A good amount of time. And she has been making some appearances recently. I've seen her out doing stuff, promo shit for the WWE. So I'm glad you said that to keep in mind. Really fast. Do you have any interest in this Edge, the couples fight? Edge and Beth versus The Miz and Mayonnaise, whatever her name is.
Oh my God, her name is Maurice.
Maurice.
So petty. It's gonna be fun. It won't be long. It'll be fun. And Beth Phoenix is a G. So
Edge and Beth are definitely gonna win, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That it would be stupid if they didn't. But Beth is a beast. She was a beast when the divas were still divas, and she was out here giving matches. You know what I mean? She's been in the men's Rumble in the past. Just to give some context about who Beth Phoenix is, before she.
That's that's a legitimate wrestling power couple right there.
Yes.
So that was the original version of Sasha and Montez over there. Not Sasha. I said Bianca. I'm sorry.
I guess. Bianca. Yeah. I guess you could say that because but they weren't a couple. I don't think when they both were in the company. I think they didn't get it, or I don't really know, child. I don't know.
They've both been in the company forever.
Right, but I don't think they were never presented as a couple on TV until now.
I like that. I like that.
So we'll say that. And so, but also I could feel that too in terms of both two really great wrestlers, two really great athletes, two really great presences. It's gonna be a filler match, but it'll be a fun, entertaining one. So it won't last long. It's not going to be no 30 minutes long. It'll be 10 minutes. It'll be fine.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, let's finish up with this. What do we believe? What's going to be the storylines or the outcomes that are going to come out of Royal Rumble? Because like you said, this is something that really does go ahead and lead into
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
It leads into WrestleMania and essentially the rest of the pro wrestling year in the WWE. What are the biggest storylines that you believe are going to come out of this matchup?
I think that we're going to get a couple of surprises in both Rumble matches that are going to lead to storylines. I think Drew McIntyre is going to return at the Rumble.
I completely forgot about Giant Conor McGregor. I completely forgot about that.
I think he's gonna pop up. I forgot. I think.
Never mind. That's Sheamus.
Yes, leave Sheamus out of this. But I think.
Yo, do you know? So Sheamus
was injured for a few weeks. He had an injury that was he needed some weeks off, but it wasn't nothing major. And I think we'll see him at the Rumble. If not, we'll see him the following week, some point, to get ready for the Mania season, right? Which is always this big deal. Right. So I think that'll be a big deal. I think there's going to be a Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio little sub-storyline within the Rumble. I think that'll be interesting. So I don't really...
Because the last 2 years, they've kicked each other out.
Right. I think it'll be something interesting with that. And then obviously whatever the heck happens with Ronda Rousey, if something happens with Ronda Rousey.
I love it.
There's going to be... I feel like shenanigans are afoot.
I
just feel like we're gonna get quite a few. And to be honest, because right now it's just really straightforward Rumble right now. It's just kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
And when it's too straightforward, just know WWE is gonna give you something crazy.
Right. Well, look, I love it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, this is one of the biggest events, of the year, one of their cornerstone events. Ms. Dre Day, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
As I said, for those who do not know Ms. Dre Day, she is the Fight Podcast, officially a part of the Fight Podcast family. She is our pro wrestling contributor. So thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And for the rest of us, thank you guys for watching. This has been the Scrappy Hour. I'm your host, Serg Vicente of the Fight Podcast. We have so much coming for you guys. Really quick, make sure if you haven't already on our YouTube and also on all podcasting platforms, we have my conversation with Invicta FC's strawweight champion, Emily Ducote. We have her on the show. And also tomorrow morning, if you guys get an opportunity to check it out, we have number 4 ranked UFC heavyweight Curtis Razor Blades. He's also going to be on the show as well. So check that out. Love you guys. We will see you next time. Thank you from the Fight Podcast.
Yes,
Andrea,
thank
you so much for joining us. Peace.
Hey.